All right. The program that I use says when it clicks down to 0, it says it's showtime. So Audra, it's showtime.
Awesome.
Now, sometimes when people say that and they have something going, it's like something super excited, a movie starting, this or that. I would say we're right up there with like the excitement because it's showtime, and we are going to go through how Audra sets up client selections in BuilderTrend. Woo! That's exciting stuff.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes. I mean, it's just everybody's fired up. So Audra was on. This is your second stop on the Remodelers on the Rise show. We had a little bit more as like almost a little coaching call where we were going through charging for design and development. But you and I have been working together for the last month or so, and we're working on just really understanding numbers overall. We're working on the sales process. We're working on just the structure and setup of your business. One area that you don't need a lot of my help on because you really have it dialed in is how you have BuilderTrend set up, how you are doing your selections, how you're doing your estimating, and my favorite 2 words, job costing in BuilderTrend. You've got that part really dialed in. So there was a thread, I think that you started actually talking about BuilderTrend selections and how you have this client that's a little feisty. And what about this approval? What about that approval? What are we doing for this? Is that the tone at which she talks to?
Very much so.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe we're being a little unfair, but maybe not a lot unfair. Okay. And what you kind of finally said was, look, we have all of those in BuilderTrend. You have signed off on each one of them. So if you log in and you click on that, you'll see exactly which tile. I'm out in the field right now. I don't have time to look it up myself. And you're like, oh, why don't I just use the system and redirect people more to it? And that kind of just sparked a little bit of conversation around how you're doing your selections and how you're getting your approvals. And so what we want to do today is kind of have you just show the way you're approaching this and how it's working for you and see if anybody has any questions. And our hope is that it provides some value to the folks watching this and makes them think about how they could maybe improve their client selection process.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm going to click on sharing the screen, and then you're going to click into BuilderTrend, and you're going to give us a little tour.
Okay. Let me
of the way you have it set up.
Yes. So that was one of the things that came up, Kyle, is that not lost on me is that BuilderTrend doesn't have a great system for this to begin with. Okay. So we've tweaked it to work for us, and for the most part, it works very well. And so I kind of wanted to be able to show the other contractors what we're doing and how we're using it in the event that it might help them.
Awesome. That's very kind of you.
Well, they've been very kind to me. So
it's a community, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. So the way that BuilderTrend has selection set up is that you would be like a production builder and have this catalog that's preloaded, and they give it to your clients, and they can go through and I want this tile for this, and and they check off the things that they want. And that doesn't work for what I do or what most of us do.
Most remodelers do, sure.
Yeah. So we did set it up in a very different way using their platform in a way that we think works really well. So I'm showing you this client, the Cohens, because they've been very well behaved and have given, they've gone and picked out all of their stuff the way that I want them to and have approved everything. So they're a good example.
Good. And can you do that Command plus, just make the screen a little bit bigger on that one? Just 2 of them.
Yep.
There we go. That just helps. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to show you just an example. The flooring material is always a good, I have all of these selections are preloaded in my templates. So when I go from proposal to setting up the job, the selection choices have a template that comes along with it, just so that I remember which, categories I want to do.
Okay, so pause there for a second. So you're saying I've got a kitchen project, and then when I create that in BuilderTrend, and we're talking at the point of you even creating the estimate?
Yes.
Okay, you've worked hard to get that template set up where, okay, I'm doing a kitchen, let me pull in that kitchen template so that backsplash shows up and the different items.
Exactly. I have a template for kitchens with permits, kitchens without permits, bathrooms with permits, bathrooms without permits, and full houses, which always have permits. And so that gives me a template schedule, template selections, to-do lists. I have all of those preloaded. So when I take that job from a proposal to a job, it preloads all of this for me.
Good.
And then I just go in and tweak it. But it gets me close enough, and it also helps me remember all of the things I need to do to get that job set up correctly. Okay. So in here, these are empty when I first come in. And then as I send out my clients to do their selections, I start getting information back and loading these up. And once they're loaded, then I release them for the client to review and approve.
Okay.
So this one, for example, for flooring material, which is tile here in Florida, everything's tile. I break it up by the area. So they had 4 selections. And in order for that to happen, you have to click this allow multiple selections. Because otherwise, if you put one choice in and they approve it, then that's it. And it won't let you add any more. And it's something I've learned. Always click that box.
Okay. And briefly, if you scroll up to the top, I think when we talked before we click live, you said, the way that BuilderTrend has this set up, they want you to do this. And I go down here to choices. Just maybe share that a little bit more.
Absolutely. So I don't know how to use BuilderTrend's allowances. I've tried it. I can't figure it out. And I'm done trying to figure it out. So I'll show you my workaround for that.
Got it.
And really, this stuff is kind of in that preloaded flooring that pops up. Then down here, before I put these in, what you're going to see is this, create new choice. And when you click on that, it gives you, these options. And I try to just be really consistent. So the choice title is always, tile selection, master bathroom, tile selection, whatever, so that it's just clear to all of us. And then you can put a link to the product here. Like sometimes if you're using like a Cambria countertop, for example, you can link it so then they can click on the link and go to the website and see all the details about the product.
Okay.
Your vendor and your installers are also something that you can select here, or they get pre-loaded if you have your template set up, which I do that. And then your price details, I don't know, this is something BuilderTrend does, is BuilderTrend flat fee, is useless. You always go to the line items. This is very important here because this is where it's going to affect your job running total and your budget. So for tile material, I go down to, and we're going to get into budget a little bit later in this podcast, but we go down to tile material, wherever that
right there.
Is. There you go. Yep. And then either unit costs, if I have a total cost, I'll put it in, or the unit, square footage and price per square foot and whatever. And then the description. So I'll show you in one that's done. We'll get out.
So even what I'm seeing here is there's a decent amount of work that you're doing to download the photo, implement it, install it, and type this in and put the numbers in. So, there's a lot of work involved in that, which is why we charge for design and development.
That's right.
To sneak that in there. But it's, you're using this, you're putting some effort in to show them these 4 choices, but it's getting it all in the system. It's allowing them to see the 4, select the one they want, and approve it. So I think some people watching this might go, that's a lot of work to get these set up. Yes, but it's also a lot of work not to have it here. It's a lot of hassle not to have it already in here. The numbers are already getting entered in properly for costing. It's getting assigned to the correct category. The vendor is already attached. There's a lot of work that you're doing up front that's going to help you downstream.
Yes. And I will say, Kyle,
yeah.
My guilty pleasure is that I actually really enjoy this.
Okay.
I don't know why, because it's tedious, but I like it. But that being said, it's really not.
I know why, by the way. It's because it helps you feel very organized, right? You're somebody that likes numbers, and you like to make sure the numbers are solid and everything's where it needs to be. And this helps you really get dialed in and organized.
100%. And also, it's once you get it set up, it's really not that much work. And everybody does it differently, but like in my case, we're going to look at the bathroom. Which bathroom is this? This is the guest bathroom for this house. My supplier sends me, I now make it a requirement. They have to send me a photo of the selected tile along with the price and have all the other information.
Awesome.
So I have to write my email, and I just sit down to do this once I get all that information. And, it takes 10 minutes. It's not a big deal once you get it set up.
Right.
So when I go in here, like I said, my vendor and my installers, which the installer includes This button tile is the actual installer. I don't know why my AC company is on there and the supplier all on there. But for some things, I let all of the trade partners see as installers. Then they'll be able to see the selection if it might affect them.
Got it.
You know, so like cabinets, for example. Cabinets are something everybody needs. The electrician needs it. The AC guy needs it. The plumber needs it. So they are all listed as installers on cabinets, even though they're not. But that way they can see all of the cabinet details.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when these are the photos, you can add your attachments here that will give you the photos of each material. So this prevents, I can't tell you how much confusion this prevents. Like when the guys go out there and there's 10 boxes of different tiles all over, they're calling me, I'm trying to tell them over the phone what goes where. This just really simplifies that because they know, my subs know that they can go into BuilderTrend and look at it. And usually all the answers are there. And if every now and then the supplier sends the wrong stuff and then they're like, this doesn't look like the one on your portal. What do you want me to do? You know? And
we got a little comment. I really like the way of presenting selections to the client this way. I hope to implement this in the future. This is that Kevin Thacker. Now I just got off the phone with Kevin and I said, well, if you're going to watch that, you have to comment. So this felt like a little bit of a forced comment, but I think he's also, yes, indeed. I like the way that's set up and I'm going to do it.
Maybe a little bit authentic there. Yeah.
That's all right. I'll take it. We'll take it. Thanks, Kevin.
So yeah, as you know, Kyle, I can't see the
oh, gotcha. No problem.
When I'm in this screen. So, but anyway, so the first line that I always do here, because I told you I can't figure out that allowance thing. In this case, you know, when I budgeted when I did the proposal for this client, we allowed 585 a square foot. That they had selected a tile and reselected this one. So there was 585 in the budget for this material, you know, that got for this bathroom, I should say, that got credited back to them. So that's the first line. It's a negative. If you put the negative in the unit cost, it will show up as a negative in your budget. If you put the negative in the quantity or anywhere else, it becomes difficult. So always put your negative here and it will do all the costing for you correctly. So they have a credit toward the tile. Then each and every material we list what it's called, the size. There's a corresponding photo with it, the appropriate quantities. And I don't show this. Oh, and I guess in this part I did. I usually don't show this to the client. I usually go down here and write it out a little nicer for them. Okay. This is also where installation specifics go. They want it in a brick pattern. They want it in a staggered pattern. They, et cetera, grout colors, whatever. I try to put it all in here to eliminate any controversy when we go to install it. So I review this in detail with the client. It does make a nice presentation to them. Yeah, it's just a reminder of it's junk in, junk out. If we don't take the time, it's like so many things in life, right? If you don't take the time to just do it right when we do it, we might have all the intention in the world to get back to it, but you're doing it right up front here. You're getting all the details out. You're really thinking through it. And you're taking the extra 4 minutes, the extra 3 minutes. But it matters. We had another comment, Tracy with Mactown. Thank you so much for showing us this. I'm so close to implementing it here, and I think this will help me with the missing answers I have. Hey, I'm so happy to hear.
That's why we're doing it, Tracy.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe move. Let's keep cruising because the 30 minutes goes fast, my friend. Kind of keep cruising through maybe the next thing you wanted to show.
Let's just look at one other selection real quick, just for whatever. We'll look at countertops. If I go into countertops, I have 5 different ones. Oh, they haven't picked theirs yet. Well, anyway, you get the idea.
Yep.
5 different areas. And in these, it's really the same thing. There will be a photo of the material. There will be a link if I have it. And, the credit for whatever we allowed. And then the actual cost and a detailed description. Now in the countertop ones, this is where you have unlimited latitude to put detail for both you, your client, and your trade partners in here. And I really take full advantage of that because it eliminates my problems later. Mm-hmm. So going to this one, this is one that's approved. She picked this material before we went under contract, so there's no change to the price. This is just confirming her choice and what she selected. So I have everything in here. Someone put this in the comment thread on Facebook, what about these details? I put it all in here. It's a 3 cm material. There are waterfalls on the island. The edge profile is straight polish. There's no backsplash. The whole location's going from left to right behind the sink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want holes drilled for 1, 3, and 5 for the disposal button, faucet, and soap dispenser. Additional notes: add a seam at the cooktop, not in the corner, and line up the design on top of the island.
And this, go back down there. You know, this is a phrase I've been using a lot is reduce the noise, reduce the noise. It's the phone calls, it's the texts, it's the, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And this, you know, if I'm the installer on this, I've got more confidence in that. Like, I'm not even going to call you. If I like, are you sure we want this? Hey, I didn't see exactly where we wanted to put the seam. Do we want to put it at the cooktop, or do we want to put it over here? This is so cut and dry. It's got the client's approval next to it. And if I'm the installer, one, I don't have any questions. It reduces the noise, reduces the phone calls. And if I did this and I did it wrong, one, I'd be shocked because it's very clear. And two, it's like, look, I followed exactly what we had selected, and I can just see how it can really streamline things. Again, more work in the planning up front, but it's going to save money and time and headaches and hassle. Everybody has to realize that, you know, again, that's why we charge for design and development, but we need to continue to work to put more and more and more time and effort into the pre-planning. And this is a prime example of it. The extra 4 minutes to type this out just saved 12 minutes down the road.
Yeah, and possibly thousands of dollars in a mistake. Enough. And that's the other thing is, like, all of these details, I didn't make this up. This is the stuff that my fabricator asks me on every job. So I just took all of the stuff that they're always coming and asking me for and put it in my template. And I'll tell you too, Kyle, this saved our butts last summer because we had a client who said, after the install was done, I wanted 2.5-inch mitered countertops. They didn't. They never said anything to anyone about that. But I was able to go back to this and I said, hey, look, it says right here that there is a straight polished edge profile. That's what we agreed to. You signed it. You never told me that you wanted otherwise. It eliminated the fight. There was no fight, you know? And so that helps a lot. And also I'm going to add, my fabricator prints this sheet and puts it in their file. They know, instead of coming to me and asking me to do a sign off or whatever, they just use this. I've trained all of my trade partners to use these signs.
And that training your trade partners, I'm seeing it there. It makes the fabrication better. It makes the install better. But also what you said earlier of, you know, I have my trade partners send me the photo with it. That just reduced your hassle factor of it. Sean Billings was kind of sharing kind of what we were just saying. How much time do you spend on this process versus how much time and headache do you think this process saves you on a project?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I just did this job, Spiz and Cohen. I just set up recently. I would say I spent about 1 hour doing all of this setup for their selections and stuff. Now that's after, of course, I've sent them to make the choices and, you know, gotten the information and feedback back from my suppliers. But I would say an hour is really all it takes once you have all the information to go in and set this up. Now, having your templates in place saves time there too. So I definitely encourage anyone using BuilderTrend to really take advantage of the templates and use those, because it duplicates. Once you find a thing that works, just do it over and over. And then you don't have to remember, you know, all the things that you want to include.
Yeah, and just again, remember that an hour spent really dialing in a template is going to save you dozens and dozens of hours in the coming months and years, and just keep that in mind. Let's float over to the second part, which was, you know, how selections and change orders run into job total budget. We're about 20 minutes in, so I wanted to move it over into that section.
Yes. So I'm going to go. This was another question that came up in the Facebook thread. And I know it confused me, and so I wasn't surprised to see that it's confusing a lot of other people too.
And give me a couple command pluses to make this bigger.
Yep, no problem. So this is, it confused me in the beginning, and then once I figured it out, it really did like make my life better. So BuilderTrend has an interesting way of tracking that job running total. And so what we figured out right away, I have an assistant who handles a lot of the budgeting stuff. And so this she figured it out first and explained it to me, which was great. But when you set this job up as a job from a proposal, your estimate gets imported, and that's what goes here. And there's this estimate tab here. This is your proposal. Literally verbatim, this is the proposal. The way that I do it, and I do believe it is the right way to do it, is I lock this in. So you can go into this estimate throughout the job and change things. I think that's just super dangerous. This is what they signed. It should be final, you know? Anything that's changed from this becomes a change order. So I go in right when I set up the job and I approve it. I don't release this to anyone. I don't do anything. It gives you a little opportunity here to approve it, and I do, and it says I approved it. And what that does is it locks it in your budget over on this screen.
Okay.
So you now have your original estimate. This is your proposal. Your new expected is taking all of the data from your change orders and from your selections and putting it into the budget. And Kyle, remind me to go back to invoicing for selections that we want to cover. So here, for example, our original tile labor price was $15,350 cost in the proposal because of some of the, that's labor, material is what we're looking at. $14,000 was in the proposal. Okay. Now, based on the selection choices, it only goes in here when it's approved. So when it's pending and they're, no, that's not the tile. I wanted this one instead. Okay, fine. And you change it and whatever.
Do all of your clients have that little snippy sound to their voice?
A lot of them do, yeah.
Okay. All
right. We live in Boca. I mean, it is what it is, right? So this tile material was from the proposal. This is now, they chose a much less expensive tile for their main living area. So that budget came down. And as your change orders and your selections get approved, this will automatically show up for you. And then over here, you can kind of decide what's here out of this dropdown. But my favorite view is this new expected versus total cost. So then I can compare this accurate column, which this is the new job running total here for us, cost-wise. And then how much we've actually spent. So this job is very new. We just started. So, there's a lot of unspent money, but I get a lot of data from this screen as the job goes on.
Got it.
And then down here, you'll see you've got your contract price, you've got your approved change orders and your approved allowances. So it only came to $909 after she signed off on all of her selections.
Good for her.
Yeah, because she had some credits for choosing less expensive stuff. So they're always excited about that too.
Okay.
So this
good. So that was some details there. And I would just, if I'm going to pull this out a little bit more, there's a lot of information that you got to really practice. And like, you didn't get this set up like this without just, how does this work? How does this work? You got to dig into it to really understand it. But one thing I would say, it's a little bit of a blanket statement, is that, for you, if I were to say, Audra, you have that $200,000 project, you are, 70% of the way through it, show me your job cost report. You wouldn't skip a beat. You'd be like, okay, no problem. Boom, boom, boom. I came over a little bit on this. I came under a little bit on this. Your job costing is really, really dialed in. And I'm starting to see that maybe the reason for that, or some of the way that you're doing that, it just really starts in how you're setting it up right from the get-go. So you've got this dialed in. And what's been interesting as we've been working together is, we're evaluating your markup. We're evaluating how you're approaching how you're doing with pricing, but it's made it so much easier because your job costing is so crystal clear that we're able to say, well, look at this job. You sold it at a X amount markup, but you really brought it in here. You had this amount of slippage. Do you see how that impacts things? Do you see how that impacts your overall budget? And we've been able to really quickly kind of identify and patch some holes and fix some things. Job costing is so important, and BuilderTrend is a beast. It's a lot of work to dial in, and I would just continue to encourage people that are dabbling with it or kind of using it to just continue to push all the chips in on it, because when you have it dialed in, it's incredibly powerful. It's a lot of work, but it's incredibly powerful.
I completely agree. And that's most of BuilderTrend's features work very well the way that they intended to. And I did use BuilderTrend a lot. I called them all the time in the beginning, asking them how to do stuff, and they have great support. Things like the selections, we had to tweak it a little bit to make it work. But in doing that, I think how many hours does it save me? Oh my God, like a million hours, you know? We have everything down to like paint colors. This is a $0 choice, right? Because the paint colors the paint is included in the price, right?
Sure.
But I put the pictures of the colors. This lady chose all white, just different shades of white. So that's fun. But a lot of times, you know, they like it gives a better aesthetic when you put the photos in.
Hang on, scroll down the bottom. I mean, that right there is like, I mean, if I'm a painter, like I love you, right? It's just like, this is so easy. This is so clear. There's no question marks. We've got it all dialed in.
And
Like
the best thing is
good detail means I literally don't have anything to ask you. I just look here and I say, thank you.
yeah.
And the problem is it's so noisy on our projects because we don't have this detail, or we kind of sort of have it. It's like, hey, so what are we supposed to do here? Now it's interrupting your day. You're back on your heels. You go back to Sean's question of like, how much time does it spend on this process setting up properly versus time and headaches? Yes, the actual time and headaches, but also the interruption and trying to get back going. And then we underappreciate how much noise and stress that causes.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing too is it eliminates conflict. The client gets to be really clear about what they want. They get to see that we understand what they want. And later when she says, I didn't want super white on the ceiling in here. I wanted it to be dove white like that other ceiling. This is not the same dove white client, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, believe it or not. But it's like, well, you know, you signed, going back to here, this is what was in here and this is what you signed. So, you know, that's what you wanted at that time. 99% of the time. And of course, you know, we don't fight with our clients either. You want that ceiling a different color, we'll take care of it, you know?
Right, but now it's a change order and I don't have to feel bad. I'm not going to have slippage on this job because of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
The other thing that I've noticed that I've seen it just time and again the last couple of weeks. It's been a little bit of a recurring theme. It's hilarious. I'm starting to see there was some lost job surveys which some of my clients send out. Like they met with them, it didn't go anywhere. They sent out a lost job survey, and I was looking at this comment of like, well, and then you wanted to collect a $500 deposit on this project just to give me a quote. You know, that's what that person heard. That's not even close to what the client said. And we can go through here. There's so much conversation, and what they remember, what they think they said, what they talked to their spouse about but didn't talk to you about, all these lines get crossed. And so often you as the remodeler are the one eating that cost. This is protecting you.
100%. And I used to always, things like this, what color grout? I don't know. We'll figure it out in the field. I can't tell you how many jobs I've regrouted because either I didn't like what the installer picked, or the client didn't like it, or they told me something different and I forgot. They like to call me when I'm driving down 95 and tell me important details like paint colors and grout colors, you know, and this just eliminates it. And
that was super interesting. I used to say, I don't know, we'll figure it out when we get there. But now I've changed my process and I'm tenacious with it, and we're gonna get that figured out before the hammers arrive on the job site.
And it makes the client feel secure. It creates safety for them that you're going through all of this detail with them up front. It makes them feel like, one, you know what you're doing, and two, you really care about what they want.
Audra, it's so much work though.
Yeah, it's not that much work. It's really
okay.
Let me show you just for a minute, Kyle. I'll show you the templates menu.
Show me that, and then show me invoicing for selections. We're going to go 5 minutes over, which means we have 6 minutes left.
Okay, thank you for that. So full renovation with permits. When I go to, this is the templates that you can do here with the, you know, next to the jobs. So now when I go to these things, I'm looking at a template item, right? I have spent a lot of time on this. A lot of weekends have been spent on this, but I usually just copy it from another job. When I'm making a template, I just went back to a different job that was similar and started with that and then tweaked it. All of these have to be tweaked once the job, once I make it a job. Sure. But I've got some of, it's in here, and then I can just go, well, this job isn't going to need, 2 weeks of drywall finishing. It's only going to need 4 days. So, we just change it in that job to the 4 days. But
this is part of your, let's say, for example, kitchen template also has a schedule tied in.
That's right. All of them have a schedule. All of them have to-do lists that are assigned to both me, my husband, my assistant, and my client. And then all of them have selections. So you can see these are all blank, but that way I go in here and I know exactly what I need to look for, and I know exactly where I need to send them in order to get, the data that I need to fill this in. Once the templates are set up, like I said, it's maybe an hour per job to actually take the data that you already have to get for your client, because you already need to know how much it costs. You already have to do, the difference in pricing and all of that. It's just adding a couple more details in order to get it to this level. So
excellent. Tell me about invoicing for selections.
Okay, so
you wanted me to remind you of that, and because I am a professional interviewer, I wrote it down and I asked you now.
You are very good at this.
Thank you. Thank you
very much. In invoicing, this is something that I had to learn the hard way. When they approve it, it just goes nowhere. It goes to their running job total, but nothing happens with it. You have to invoice it yourself. What I found is that when I get to this stage where these are like pretty much all green, we have not selected door hardware yet, and I'm okay with that. They can wait a little while for that. But we have most of the selections done. You go here and just click this select all, and it's going to check all of your selection choices. And then under your checked actions, you can go to create owner invoice. And it'll allow you to, if you want to break it up, I don't. All of, everything's due when it's approved. That's that. And it'll create now an invoice.
Wow.
With all of my job costs done correctly and this total that'll go into the invoice. What's great about this is that I can do that now. And then a little bit later, let's say they go back and they change that, and now we have a selection for that, and now it's another $500. If I go to this select all and go checked actions and create owner invoice, it will only pull up the ones that were not already done on an invoice the same way.
Interesting. Go back to what you just did, which was not stay right there. Click apply and for that invoice, and scroll down to one that just has a couple.
This, by the way, Kyle, this is where I was talking about. You got.
Hang on. I'm about to ask you that. Go down to one where there's just a couple. The backsplash is a good example. So when I'm looking at this, we've got a negative 1080, which was maybe the allowance.
Yes.
And then we have the 1,300, which is the actual cost. So we're taking out the allowance, and here's the actual cost, and so they went over $220 on that.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And that's where,
and again, that's why it was so important, the way that you were setting up the negative and the positive. This is a huge reason why that's important.
It is, because if you put the negative in the quantity, it will just remove it from this portion, and then this number is wrong. So that took me a while to figure out, and it's a very simple solution.
Gotcha. One thing that I want to emphasize on this is that, like, talking to you maybe a year ago or 9 months ago, you wouldn't be showing this with as much clarity or authority in, like, this is what I do, this is why I do it. It was clunky. And I like to think about when people ask me, should I get involved with BuilderTrend? Can I get CoConstruct going? Should I get da-da-da-da? I've been thinking more and more about it, of going, what kind of company do you want to be running 5 years from now? 4 years from now, 3 years from now. And if you are really convinced that you want to incorporate more technology, more streamlining of process systems, templates like this, then we ought to start that sooner rather than later. And guess what? It is going to be clunky, and it is going to be difficult, and it is going to be redundant for a time, and it's going to be a lot of learning. But you get to the point, and a lot of you have gotten here in BuilderTrend or whatever program you're using, where now it starts to just become who we are. There's so many kind of sort of using it, and like I said earlier, really needing to go all in. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of setup, it's a lot of effort, but there's a lot of reward and efficiency on the other end of it. So keep going, keep pushing.
I cannot agree more. Yeah, I was really opposed to all of this when I started. Like, one of my employees dragged me into using BuilderTrend, and I didn't want to, and I thought it was too much work, and I didn't think it, that it was going to work. And
how long ago was that?
About 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I don't know how I did anything without this. I mean, and what we did is we did it in a clunkier way, with less organization, with way more mistakes, and we were okay with it because we didn't know any different,
Yeah.
But it's such a tighter ship now with the way that we do things.
Awesome. Love it. Cool. So I kind of shared my takeaway, which was, look, if you're using this, like stick with it. I know it can be frustrating. Hang in there. And then you are going to finish off this show by saying your concluding statement. Hey, if you take anything, take one thing out of what I just shared. Here's what I would just emphasize to you. What would you say?
I think the biggest issue for me, and what I would expect it would be for a lot of people watching this, is that fear of, like, how much work is this going to be? And I just can't tell you enough how much of an ROI you get on this setup. It is literally hours and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And also, like you said, it's eliminating the noise. It streamlines the communication, not just between you and your client, but between you and your trade partners, suppliers. Like, all my guys get in on this. They get an email and they're like, I got an email about an approval. Is this okay to order? Like, is this, they follow it. They like it. They like being in the
That's
know.
what they say now. 12 months ago, they were like, what is this? I don't want to use it. This is take too much time, right? We got to stick with it. We got to stick with it. I'm also very impressed. We didn't even exchange like, hey, what are you wearing? But look how amazingly coordinated the black, the green. I mean, we are bringing the heat today on the Remodelers on the Rise show. We are coordinating. We are sharing good information. And it's always funny. We've got the most views right now than we had before. And now we're wrapping up. But that's the way it goes. You guys can listen to the recording. Thanks so much for your time, Audra, for sharing your knowledge of this and your hard work in this. And we can already tell it's helped several people kind of spark them, I think, to continuing to dig in and improve their process.
Fantastic.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.